think I've about 10 minutes to talk to you about the role of print in democracy. Someone once said that the foundation of effective democracy is multi-plural access to reliable information. Well, I'm not sure what multi-plural is, but I'm pretty sure it's about access to information. This morning, I was working with our Level 5 learners on critical thinking and the role of beliefs and values in shaping attitudes to employment. And the old chestnut, the psychological contract, came up. What do the employer and what do the employee expect from each other beyond the basic terms and conditions? And undoubtedly, there has been and there still is a paradigm shift. No longer does the employer offer lifetime employment, with most people now changing employers at least 5 times in their working lives. No longer does the employee, or certainly large sections of the workforce, owe any allegiance to an employer beyond I work for you while it works for me. We live in a new world of individualism. And I wanted to try and just translate that for a moment across to voting allegiance and communication. I'd like to take you back to 1966. Harold Wilson's government, who were elected 17 months earlier with a minute majority of 4, which kept reducing, reluctantly decided to go back to the electorate. 32 million UK audience would later that year watch the famous World Cup final. 25% of the population would watch the haunting docudrama Kathy Come Home, featuring the plight of homeless families in the UK. And as someone that spent 5 years, which is me, being chair of the domestic abuse refuges, I'd like to tell you there's no Kathys out there, but I'm afraid there probably is. The national newspapers were read by 30% of the population. Harold Wilson had a relatively easy messaging route to market, and announcing the election on television and in the press, he didn't hold his punches. Time for decision. This is what we've done. This is what we're going to do. You might not like it, but there it is. If you don't like it, don't vote for us. For those of you who are interested, there's a transcript of the Harold Wilson speech out there. I actually, regardless of your politics and where you sit, which party you are, I think it is a brilliant speech. And the really worrying or sad or whatever thing is that actually if you took the date of it, it could be today. So just an interesting point. The headlines were very clear and gave a simple brief to the campaign team who would be relating those messages on the doorstep. The party won with a 96 majority, so they turned it from 4 to 96. Before we start eulogising about the swing 60s, I'd just like to remind you that in the very same 96, there was a lot of tooth sucking before a decision was made to stop the practice of refusing to employ black people at Euston Station. That was only 1966. Yeah, jaw-dropping, Julia, isn't it? It would be another further 2 years before the girls at Ford made their very brave Made in Dagenham stance. And remember, they didn't get equal pay. It would be another decade before we got any substantial employment legislation, and a lot of troubled times would be there to be followed. But what I do know is that back then, the communication and the route to communication was far more simple than it is today. Let's fast forward to 2014. You've got the Scottish independent vote, you've got the general elections, you've got the vote on Europe, you've got the local elections, you've got health campaigning, and it is a very different route to market that we've got. The chief marketing officer of one of the world's biggest brand leaders was down at the International Marketing Conference in Cannes last month talking about the lost generation. I thought he was talking about the subject close to my heart, the 1 million unemployed youngsters out there. And if you're a Europhile, that's 22.8% of the under 25s. And I don't know whether you saw the figures yesterday, Spanish unemployment of young people is now 50%. What a problem we're stacking up for ourselves. He wasn't. What he was talking about was the lost generation of marketeers and communication specialists in the late 30s and early 40s who are leading marketing campaigns and who have lost their insight capabilities of effectively taking messages to market. that they've got a fragmented media that is no longer mass. You've got newspaper circulation in the UK not hitting 80% of the population. You've got multi-channel TV choice. You've got the handheld revolution placing more reliance on peer recommendation than any communicator or marketeer's subliminal messages. And just in case you thought you might hijack some of this, the head of innovation at Samsung's agency gives a very clear warning. It's this: beware marketeers. Consumers expect the brand they deal with to be ethical and honest. Lie to them and they will leave you in their millions. They're fast, they're furious, but they're anchored in a deeper emotional detail. Deeper emotional detail. Heavy stuff for us. So what do we do? What do we know? So we know that some of the big boys in marketing don't actually know what media to choose, don't know how to take their messages out. But what we know is that there is a cynicism about political opportunism. Soundbite coverage across all media with superficial insight into political messaging has led to a general feeling of mistrust. Direct mail deserted in favour of unproven, alternative, cheaper routes to market just in order to tick "we did communicate with your" box has been really, really exposed and found out. So if we take that direct mail example, let's not forget the police commissioner elections, which resulted in a 15% turnout, with post-event analysis supported by the Electoral Commission agreeing that the lack of print significantly impacted participation. Greenwash, another thing we know about, demonising the environmental credentials of paper messaging in order to mask what is simply cost-saving initiatives, has clearly been exposed. What's the psychological contract with you and your supplier when you have to pay to see an itemised bill? What's that all about? All of this despite print's clearly proven trust factor. I urge you, all of you, to have a look at print power statistics, which can be viewed in reception. Whilst I give a call to action to those responsible for promoting education and choice in a democratic society, I equally call on the 130,000 individuals employed in the printing industry to shout from the rooftops that people want something very simple: to be able to read important messages in their own home, and they want it to be clear and honest and whatever medium is appropriate to them. Not a lot to ask, not really. So that ends my little bit of speech on democracy. What I wanted to do, I've got 3 minutes left. So Andy says you always throw them away. Right, let's talk about the industry. There's people out there. Have you heard them? TV's dead, print's dead, the parrot's dead, everybody's dead. Oh, we're all going to die, it's all horrible, it's rubbish. Actually, do you know, they must live in a different world to me, these half-empty glass people. They really must. Because when I'm out there, I'm hearing a totally different story. We've got government, and I don't, multi-party or whatever, have given the print industry £2 million for training. £1 million of it we've used on graduate training. There are a set of 250 people out there that are able to have a degree that would never have been able to have it before, and we've created a whole level of new excitement within the industry. When I'm going round the patch, I bump into exciting businesses every single day. I see innovation, I see people getting R&D tax credits to help them with innovation, I see them creating jobs. And we've got a simple message. I'm really sorry that the big boys can't take their messages to market. I'm really sorry that they're standing up and they say they don't know how to take their products out there. Actually, our job is SME to SME. We're a set of SMEs. What we need to do is simplify the marketing messages and the help that SMEs need to maximise their own products. Because basically, if it's a bad campaign, nobody benefits from it. All the work's gone in, it's been hard, etc., etc. Nobody wins from it. But what is worse is the campaigns that don't happen because people don't know how to do it, because that is a lost opportunity to develop those businesses and create jobs. We have got a fabulous industry. We've got a fabulous opportunity. We can demyth the big data mythology. You know, that is where, you know, the .com was 10 years ago. I'm not saying it's not relevant, it is absolutely relevant, but we actually as an industry can work across media to make that work for our clients. I've never been more excited about our industry. I think it's a fabulous industry. I'm totally proud to work in it. I hope you all are, and I hope the other thing is that you're all glass half full people, and if we could fill it a little bit more with a drink now, then it would be great. Please network, please tell everybody your good news stories, and thank you so much for coming along, and thank you so much for letting me have this job, which I love.